Why should I pay full price for Warhammer, Jay? Am I some kind of idiot or whatever?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess
shit.
so.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Hey guys, welcome to the Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I'm Chris, this is Jay, and our theme this week, if you haven't noticed already, is to piss as many people off as possible.
It's true.
We're going to be just talking more businessy, direct business sort of stuff today. Business, yeah. Less sort of like talking about, a specific game or whatever, and talking about just like the nuts and bolts of the hobby industry from a retail perspective, which is what we always try to offer as two hobby shop owners and people that have worked in the industry for a couple decades. So yeah, I'll pose the question again. What do you think? Like, should the customer pay MSRP for hobby products?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is I guess a good question for anything. It's really. I think it kind of dovetails with another video we released this week. It's a bit about like what you, I guess, the experience or what you need to get out of it. So, I always thought of it as like, I like the thing. I like, I want the company to make more of it. If I'm at my local store, in the case of my own store or whatever, like, MSRP is like an interesting thing because what it does is it preserves a certain value to the product.
Right.
And I think people sometimes forget that when you strip off, when you don't have a MAP or minimum advertised price, which Games Workshop does enforce, the max you can discount is 15%.
Yeah.
It's there as a barrier, so to prevent the race to the bottom on something, and I think that was smart of them to do that. You see, when you deregulate that, you can have consequences go swing both ways, which is also interesting, which people seem to forget.
Right. Like cards are a big example
correct.
of that, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time,
world,
the what you can make on a box of cards is like wholesale cost plus 5%.
Yes.
But then, when it like becomes rare or hard to get, it could be like 3 times or 4 times the price.
It can go crazy. Yeah. It is something that I think we just see it from the like zoomed out, like, oh, this, can you believe how much this like little frame of plastic costs? It's $60 or whatever, or whatever it is, and I can't, I'm not gonna buy I hate GW and evil GW, and look at what they charge, and that's fair. But
look at what your models are worth used still.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of people want both. They want the like their Space Marine army to also, they want to bring in their dusty, crumbly Space Marines and be like, oh, I paid $500 for this. I want $475 back or something. You're like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Now if you deregulate it, yeah, maybe one of your minis might spike to $100 because of rarity. I mean, that kind of happens in eBay anyway, but likely they will just go down to zero.
When we saw this, we got to, not to say that War Machine and Warhammer are comparable, but we did get to see what happens when you don't have MAP and stuff like that, MSRP, when War Machine was kind of at its pinnacle of sales or whatever.
Yeah.
Big, and ultimately this is what happens in the hobby industry is like, and any industry really is like, there's a couple of big industry leaders in the retail market. So like the biggest online store kind of dictates the price. And then they decided, they're like, we're going to have like, instead of a 40% margin, which is a typical hobby margin because of like the low volume that you're usually dealing with. Not everyone's into this stuff. We're going to do 5%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, like, as a hobby shop that's not this huge volume discounter thing, you're like, why am I going to bring in the new release of these Warjacks to make $3?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what starts to happen, right? Is people start to quit on it. They look for other products where they can make a margin. And then over, like a pretty short period of time, people stop buying. The customer's like, I can't get the product anymore. And it just kind of falls in on itself, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, both of them will have different things. Like, obviously, when you go the deregulated route, you'll eventually have like 1 or 2 mega stores that rule the entire, regional market. And because they have the most buying power, they could buy pallets of the product and reduce the margin to a small amount. And that's not great either, because then, the customers are like, well, my favorite LGS is gone, or I don't have this or that, or I have to deal with only one or two places, and now I'm like a number, and that's the consequence. That I know it sounds like a crazy spiral, but it will get there.
Well, and here's the thing people don't talk about a lot, right? So like, even in our area, there's a couple of heavy hitters or whatever, right? That have like, they do the volume thing, right? So they price it the lowest they can, and they just sell tons of units, right? And so you have people come into our shop and be like, well, can you give us, and they do the price match thing with like this company or whatever. And the thing that they're forgetting is that there's not going to be extra customer service with that situation, right? So like, they're not getting a play space, they're not getting the paint lessons, they're not getting the hobby help, they're not getting their questions answered. And the thing that comes up actually that seems to matter the most to people over a period of time, they're not getting the preferential treatment of being a long-time customer somewhere.
Sure.
That anyone who's a loyal customer of a shop knows that like, the owner usually will go to war for you to get you the thing that you want. If it's rare or limited or whatever, they'll take care of you. Or when something happens, the ask is usually never too big. And that's often kind of forgotten. It's like people want both. They want the really low price and they want to be a mercenary and shop everywhere.
Yeah.
But then also when the really limited thing comes around, they want one. And it's like they'll find out that there's no place that's going to give them one because they don't have a relationship with anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit double-edged, right?
Yeah, I think for Warhammer as a product, and we'll see how this goes as the years and maybe decades took by, as it continues to grow quite large and fast. Maybe it was a little different in the beginning. Maybe things will change. I don't know. We don't know what the future is. But Games Workshop has moved at a relatively like slow grow pace for a long time. And only recently have things kind of moved up in a little bit. COVID was a bit of a on-ramp or rocket ramp or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Is the reason that they've kind of stuck around and been able to do the things the way they do, make these great minis, like keep growing at a reasonable pace, is because they've never been like, they do everything at a like a live for tomorrow. Like they don't want to, or not even for tomorrow. They want to be around for years and years. I think part of their motto was they wanted to make minis forever, and there's something admirable about that, for sure. And I think that's the reason why we even bother selling it in the first place, is we knew that we could use that to have a business that was going to be around for a long time, right? Like every other game comes and goes, and that, part of the reason is GW's monopoly, but in general, like you see it all the time. The companies, the Kickstarter companies, the small mini companies that try and make second games too fast, they're not thinking about the like, how can we be around? They're just like, oh, now I need to make the next quick buck or whatever. And
they never get out of survival mode, right?
No, and
they never kind of
and again, and if you're one of those people that is like, has Warhammer, like again, this is the side of the conversation that I feel like just never ever gets mentioned enough, is the like, we only get the like, oh, it's the too expensive thing, but we never get the like, what happens when you want to resell it, or what happens, people focus on the price they paid for their army, like the thousands of dollars, but then they ignore or forget that it is like, that retains a good chunk of that.
Yeah. Definitely not like my sofa.
I mean, literally everything else in your life.
Everything else is like terrible.
Other than I guess housing.
Yeah, sure.
In the last few decades.
Hope they're not choosing Tyranids over housing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest that.
No, but without fail, almost everything is gone. I mean, the video games you buy digitally now, you don't even own. So that's something that I try and just put forward gently to people and be like, look, my Warhammer from decades ago is still good. Think of all the old world people that dusted off their armies or resold some of them. Their models went
unreal,
just like to them, and again, my little point about the MSRP also does control how crazy the price gets as well. It does police the other end. Because yes, a rare model can, sometimes you're like, oh, I gotta buy this. This thing's sold out online, and now someone wants $200 for this single mini. I'm like, if there was no MSRP, that person probably asked $1,000 or whatever. Because then there's like, because then you can't raise the price too much because people know what it does cost when it comes back in stock, right? there's interesting there. So anyway, we as maybe we're unique. We've kept on with it because we want to make a buck, and you can do the math yourself too if you're a business owner. When unless unless you have like control of the market in your region, it's like you don't just have to sell one or two extra. You have to sell many times more extra items to
make the discounting
worth it. I think I did some quick math once, and these are just like random figures. But I'll put it this way: if you're selling an MSRP and you like sell $500 worth of items, you make like, I think the profit is 175 or something like, or whatever it is. I know it's 275 of that. At discount, you have to sell $900 worth of products to make the same amount. So you need to like nearly sell double so you need to double your customer base and so forth.
But then there's also you're doubling your inventory.
Yes,
because like and
it may need extra employees and
honestly, this is the decision we like. Obviously, we feel like we're offering something, and we talked about this in our other video this week. We feel like we're offering something premium here. We're offering the space. Jay and I have like 30 years each of like painting knowledge that we give people. We teach free painting lessons. Like there is the value add to make up that difference for people.
And don't say, I have the internet now, because I have lots of people that come in with the video, and they've got the video and they've got the paintbrush, and they're like, help, like, So the hands-on thing, or if you buy an airbrush here and
but the video is a good example to bring up, because like the video can't answer the specific questions the person. It's not non-interactive.
It's not,
right. So you can watch a Squidmar video and be like, I know how to paint this, but what if you have a question? Or what if you have any question about it, right?
Like, I mean, often what occurs too is what's not conveyed in the video is like there are certain things quietly happening that. If Squidmar's an accomplished painter, so he will know like exactly how much paint to take out, how much water to add, what brush to use, how to apply it, and he'll do that all quietly and inherently. He can't even describe it to you even if he tried, because it's all physical quantity. Yeah. So that's where having someone here literally like show you, take your hand and show you, you're not going to get. So
and the people, like I said, we have a ton of loyal regular customers, and they understand. They really. I'd say take full advantage of that fact, right? Yeah. I have some people that come in a couple times a week and ask me 16 questions every time they're here, and that person, God bless them, they are getting their value in spades.
I mean, think of also, because I know they have varying qualities of employees, but even all the humble GWs everywhere, like they're the place, and often. And they're giving, I think you underestimate how many people rolled in to the hobby. They have zero. They've never held a brush. They've never built a model. They these people are trying to provide that. So I don't know. I think, again, like I have nothing against because Games Workshops exist and sell 40K and make the game popular and get new people in that helps me too. Like, it's great. I would never be like, I hate that they have the stores around in the area are great for us. Like they're
fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to see more of them. They're fantastic.
Yeah. They're again like if they didn't have their own stores, like I don't know if the IP would be as.
If you're a fan of any miniature hobby game, we've made this case in other videos before, but like if you're a fan of Infinity or Marvel or whatever you like, historicals, you should love Warhammer stores.
Yeah.
Because it's literally it's like the recruitment office.
It is.
For miniature hobbies, and people that go through there end up in all sorts of places in their life. Yeah. So the fact that they have those and they basically subsidize those because they're not super profitable.
Yeah.
They do okay.
They do okay.
They help everybody out who's into this hobby, right? Yeah. So you should. I think you should have a little bit of that kind of context in your head. I think at least. Yeah. I'm gonna make a point that I think might be a little of a hot take. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think it's worth noting. This is more of a psychological thing too, I think. I will make the case, and I've kind of changed my thinking this way too when I make purchases. It's like, especially in the hobby, where it's easy to end up with a lot of extra stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
If you have a ton of great models at home that you don't use, why does the 15% off matter?
Sure.
I said like, and of course this is like, if you're already buying it from a place that you know, you're getting the deal, you like the store, you're supporting this, whatever, man. Like, I'm not judging those persons. Yeah. I'm talking about the people that are like deal hunting and then, you know, that sort of thing. I think when we focus so much on price first, we can ignore the experiential part of the thing, which is just like getting the thing you want and working on that and finishing it and enjoying the whole process, right? And kind of doing that loop or whatever, right? And I think if you're not completing those loops on your own and like building and painting and playing or whatever your even goals are, if you're not completing your goals and you have all this extra stuff, I would at least ask you to ask the question is like, why does it matter if I'm getting the best price all the time? Is that actually? I mean, is that actually helping me?
I use this kind of tongue in cheek here at the store very often, which is like, so you know, very obvious as a store owner. You know, I can consume. I get to consume. This is great. I get to consume Warhammer at cost, which is less, which is obviously the cheapest you can get it.
Yeah, it just comes out of your wage because you could have a better paying job.
There's that's besides the point.
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
I phrase it this way. You know, here you go. You know, sure, Timmy or whatever. Sure. I get it.
You get the best discount.
I get the best discount. Yeah. I can eat as much Warhammer as I want.
You can have all the Warhammer you like.
All the Warhammer I want. And it's like a useless superpower because I have, you know, people with, you know, it's a funny thing. People think it's like that I must have like storage rooms full of all this Warhammer that I just like hoard away for later.
You do kind of have that a little bit.
I have some, but I don't think I don't.
It's not a dragon's cave.
I don't think I have this amount.
Maybe 2 bins. Maybe
I have a few bins of Warhammer. But the reality is, I just don't have the time or the energy. And whether I ran the business or had a different day job, it wouldn't matter. Like there comes a point where there's literally more than you can possibly get to and consume. Yeah. And where the return of getting to have all this extra stuff just doesn't matter anymore. So, you know, it really, I don't know, it's just a perspective thing that like, yeah, so even if I could give you this like crazy price, like what are you really getting other than, I don't know, you get to look in your closet and like admire the box sometimes. Yeah. There is something about the hobby here that there has a natural handbrake that will just stop you from it mattering, you know. So and it's not like I can, you know, resell it for this extra profit because it doesn't sell like that, you know. So it's and it doesn't jump around like you know, magic cards or collectible cards potentially. Even those though, like, you know, it's probably, even if you have a collection of cards that like are doing, you know, some are doing well, some are doing bad, like even after 10 years you'll probably go cash them in and maybe make a little bit, probably not though, you'll probably break even. Like it's, yeah, so yeah, despite the discount, it's not definitely I'm not feeling the crazy, you know. No, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, ultimately I think you're gonna, this is where our videos this week kind of tie together. It's, I think, pay what you need to pay where you want to be and where you want to shop, and you know, support that, right? I think that's kind of the gist of it all, you know.
Yeah.
I just think about it. Are you making an emotional decision? Are you, you know, it's because it, like I said, it bleeds into the other aspects of your life where you are trying to find like good values and good deals and stuff like that on things. Because like, you know, we're not patronizing anybody here. Things cost what they cost, and we make what we make, and you know, there's always tough decisions there, right? But most of the time, I'll say most of the time because not all the time, when I'm talking to customers and they're making that decision where I want to save $10, it's not because they have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not because they have to.
No. It's we've stated many times before that we're a luxury boutique store. You know, we sell wants, not needs. So, you know, that's a whole nother discussion too, into the like, you know, if you get it's just our own thoughts on like how, especially where Warhammer is these days, with how frankly popular and kind of booming it is like, you know, for those of you that, you know, because I'm sure we'll get some people that are going to give long, detailed economic type answers. I'm like, look, supply is relatively low and demand is high. If I want to be like a successful business, why in God's name shoot myself in the foot? Like,
yeah, if you're blowing Marines out at 20% off right now,
like, what are you doing?
And you can't reorder them, that's just bad business.
What?
That's terrible business.
Like,
right?
and we are we always joke we're the worst capitalists, because frankly we are, because we, you know, there is no surge pricing in here. It just stays the same all year. We keep the prices kind of the same. We only, you know, make the adjustment when Games Workshop kind of forces our hand or whatever when they raise the price, but otherwise, like, we just keep it even keel, and, you know, like I said, we're here for the long game. So anyway, that's
because if we were absolute bastards, we would just we would have pulled those Blood Angel army boxes and put them on eBay for $350, $400. Instead we sold them for MSRP to people that wanted them.
Yeah,
and
well, those
people are really excited and
the
happy.
flip side of the MSRP thing is when things are scarce and going wild, it polices it a bit. You know,
right?
It's so
I don't know. I think it's I'm interested to know what our viewers think, and if you disagree with us, just be civil, right? Like,
be civil.
We do try to read the comments, but I'm not going to read it if it's nasty. You know, like let's like
if it's just wacky.
Like, try to remember that, like, where the place we're coming from, I think, is like. You might consume Warhammer as your hobby. We live it as our livelihood. I think, and that's, at least you can be respectful of that when you're commenting on, I can't believe you guys are defending MSRP and blah 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 blah. All the wonderful things I'm sure we'll hear in this one. But, I think at least try to measure it with that, right? There's a,
I don't know, we've gotten to 10 years somehow, so we made it work.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'll remind everybody, we both worked at Games Workshop together. That's where we met. I ran Games Workshops. They sell for MSRP every day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Games Workshop stores.
Yeah, and their web store is also MSRP.
And their web store is MSRP. That's constantly sold out of things.
Constantly sold out of things. Yeah.
I think the vast majority of people will understand that, like, that's just a thing, right? So.
Well, it also proves that the market. At least we so far. We'll see how the price increases continue, etc. But the market is accepting it, has not rejected, fully rejected. I mean, we have some discussions on the launch boxes and the prices of those. Sure. Maybe there's a limit there, but at the way things are right now, they continue to be. The market continues to absorb it quite well. So anyway, I personally like that 365 whatever, every day, that when I walk in, the box will be there at a certain. It's not going to be this crazy graph of nonsense. It's just kind of, and then if I have a painted army, like I'm going to at the very least break even. Like those are safe investments. Like I like, from my hobby, it makes the hobby, the money I get to spend on my hobby. That much more, it's just a nice peace of mind or whatever. Whereas, like I said, everything else is like, if I buy this, it could be. Yeah,
I can just take any of my Age of Sigmar armies and turn it into a nice guitar anytime I want. It feels good,
Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we try to do these like sort of honest broker videos once in a while, and then we have our goofy sort of like industry takes as well. If you liked it, you can subscribe. And we appreciate that. And you can check out our Patreon at Lords of War Games and Hobbies. Until next time, take care.
Thanks. Bye.